Hi, GSU Symposium. This is Jeff Gallant. I'm the Program Director of Affordable Learning Georgia. Nikita Afaha is our Program Manager. We're going to talk today about transforming and growing in open education with Affordable Learning Georgia and our programs. Now, the reason why our programs are the way that they are is because we are a system supporting multiple institutions and we respect academic freedom. We do not want to mandate the use of particular affordable resources or particular OER or say everybody needs to use OER. Every instructor has different methods, every student has different needs. But we can support the use of affordable resources or OER by USG faculty whenever we can. That includes training, doing videos just like this and other workshops, promoting affordable resources whenever we can. We've got a newsletter right on our site. You can sign up for it. We meet with and we assist our local ALG champions on every campus. And we also host open educational resources. So we have two places for that. We have OpenALG, which is a place to publish OER, and we have ALG Commons, which is a way to share this out through library catalogs and throughout the world. We also should find a way to support your time, the time that it takes to do that extra work to successfully create, adapt, and implement OER in a course. So, how do we do that? Well, we have been doing that through affordable materials grants. Ever since 2014, we've had 700 USG projects. That has led to $208 million in student savings on textbook costs, affecting 1.6 million student course enrollments. All USG institutions have had at least one affordable materials grants project. We normally have within just one round of grants over 10 of those institutions every single time. Now, why would we do affordable materials grants and not something like centralized OER publishing or any kind of mandate or a purchase of a particular program and say, here you go, do what you want? It's because grants prioritize your creativity and your knowledge, the knowledge of our faculty and our professional staff. Teams of faculty and professional staff at institutions and sometimes across institutions will make these plans and they'll propose them with a budget through our grant program. The first type of grant, transformation grants, they put outcomes first. The first thing that you want to do is transform your course to use affordable resources, and hopefully that promotes student success. So, whatever needs to be created within a transformation grant, that becomes OER and that is shared at the ends of the process. So, you have the things you use and create to make a difference, making a difference globally after that. Continuous improvement grants put sustainability first. You're going to need to significantly revise and improve open educational resources and continue these open practices in a course over time. So, if you want to create new OER, improve your existing OER, make them more current, you can do that with a continuous improvement grant, and then we will share out those new changes for everyone. Research grants put the big questions up front. And these are ones that transformation grants or continuous improvement grants can't answer alone. Looking at aspects of student attainment, learning outcomes, perceptions with affordable learning. So, this is especially diving into the data, looking across multiple courses, looking back for years and doing a longitudinal study. These are focused, in depth explorations of the big questions surrounding affordable learning. But most importantly, all of this puts students first. First of all, we're prioritizing affordability, which means that students will have stress free, meaning they don't have to think about their budgets when they do this, and day one access to materials. And that's regardless of their socioeconomic status. And across Georgia, we have students of varying status. Flexibility means that instructors can create really relevant resources for exactly what your students need in your class. Maybe they have a particular career goal at your institution when you're teaching a course that they don't at other places. You can tailor those resources for exactly what you want to do. Open pedagogy is a process that leverages open to enhance learning, bringing students into the creation process of OER. They can author it, they can edit, they can even teach their own peers down the line by creating OER. For example, there was a famous thing at North Carolina State University where students taught other students how to use a lab by creating a whole series of open videos, and then those students would take them and then create new videos that would teach the next students down the line. So a really great way to jump into Bloom's taxonomy too. And accessibility provides all students with the same quality materials regardless of their abilities and their learning preferences and the way that they think, the way that they are wired. Grant applicants, if you are looking at ways to enhance your application, look at these four categories. What can you do to enhance all four of these? So we'll talk a bit about the transformation grants, the first ones that we ever did. It's the ones that mean you are transforming your course from using commercial textbooks to courses using OER and other affordable materials, all the way up to $40 total. These grants, it's good to start saying that they include savings estimates because you're creating new student savings. This is the kind of impact that is generated through a transformation grant project. So you have to estimate out the number of students per semester for your summer, your fall, and your spring. The annual amount of students is the sum of the above. The original cost of required materials is whatever it cost originally to be in this course for your required materials. The new cost of required materials. Now, if you have a low cost project, there may be a cost. If you have a zero cost project, it is $0. And then the savings per student affected per enrollment in one course. So that means taking the original cost and subtracting the new cost, you get how much students will save with your new project once it's implemented. The annual savings are the savings per student times the annual students. Now, for transformation grants, you have a lot of stuff to do because you are not only creating or improving a new resource, you are transforming your entire course. You are often, as a team, agreeing on exactly what it is you want to teach, looking at your learning outcomes and finding out exactly the methods you want to use for each thing, then finding out what it is you're going to do for creating things, for finding things that already exist, for tweaking the stuff that already exists to become something new and interesting. That means that there's more time involved. So this is a 5,000 maximum award per individual team member that can cover salary, course release, travel, etc. It depends on the institution how that can be used. Be sure to talk to your grants office about it. There are additional project expenses that can be allowed within the project. For example, if you need to buy materials in order to do the project, but these need to be justified in your proposal budget and they really need to be a part of the plan. Uh, the maximum per total award is $30,000. We've got a request for proposals out there, and those have all the details. Now, if you have other project costs, be sure to make them very clear in the budget section, but also explain why those expenses are necessary for the project success within your plan. Reviewers, including peer reviewers and ourselves, we're going to be looking at that very closely, especially um, when we start looking at what we are going to award. Other affordable options than OER also qualify. This is focused on open at GSU, but we are going to also include library resources, which are free for students. They're not open, but they are free. Library resources include a lot of academic monographs in the ebooks collection, a lot of journal articles that explore specific topics. This is great for upper level courses, especially ones where you say, well, my course is a little bit too niche to have an open textbook out there for it. A collection of library resources may be the way to go. Ask a librarian for more about this. You may have things like e reserves that expand what you can do with your collections as well. Now, there are also no cost and low cost resources that are not open. For example, digital web resources, you may be linking out to a news article. Those aren't open. You don't have control of them. You can't change how they look. You can't change how accessible they are, but they are no cost. Low cost are usually things that you would purchase from a vendor, like courseware or lower cost textbooks. Inclusive access is kind of part of the low cost thing. They're not free, they're not open, but they are low cost. We have a pricing agreement with two publishers that keep their texts under $40 within exclusive access. That may increase if you have to use courseware. So beware of that because the low cost barrier is $40. So, continuous improvement grants are the second category, and those are opportunities for individuals or teams to improve low cost and no cost materials courses through revising OER or creating new OER. So, a substantial revision isn't just the standard work you have to do every 3 or so years to revise your course. This is updating resources for accuracy, for being more accessible, for being very clear, for design purposes, to make sure that they're compatible with the systems everybody is using, and the creation of new OER to help out with your course. If you were saying, if only this open textbook had a whole series of lecture slides that I could use, and it had a series of videos, or it had a podcast, so that folks who like to listen to text when they're trying to study for a course have something that they can use too. That all can be done in a continuous improvement grant. So yeah, if you're looking at a big revision or the creation of new OER, look at a continuous improvement grant for sure. Now, these are smaller grants. There's 2,000 maximum per team member, again for salary, course release, travel, anything that is needed. But be sure to check with your business and grants office. Additional project expenses are allowed, just like with transformation grants. They do need to be justified in the proposal budget. The maximum total award is 10,000. See our RFPs for more details on this. Now, research grants, like we had said before, these explore the bigger questions, the ones that you can't get to um, through just um, through something like a continuous improvement grant or a transformation grant. Yeah, so especially look at open education topics, but all topics related to affordable materials do qualify. So research projects in this category should look at cost, at looking at learning outcomes, looking at student perceptions. Research projects end with a research report at the end of the final semester. These research reports are shared under a Creative Commons Attribution license. If you have data, you can share it with us. We won't share that out unless you want it to be shared, unless you tell us, hey, you could share that out, then we will. There's a standard outline for the research report, and it's probably good to go over that because you're probably like, well, what does a research project like this entail? Well, first, obviously, you need to talk about who your project team is, but then you're going to summarize the project. What were your major goals, your objectives? What were the research questions you were trying to address? How did you design the research and your methods? How did you do any data analysis? What were the tools that you used in all of this as well? And then what did you find? And what are the expected things that you could apply or that others could apply based on these findings? Um, you'll have a description of any supplementary files. You don't have to replicate them, but you can let folks know that it exists. So if a researcher needs like an anonymized version of it, they can reach out. And then any future plans that you have, because future plans are great for this. We want research grants to lead to even bigger things. Your publications, conference papers, presentations, websites, anything that will lead to something bigger than the report is awesome. Research grants have the same funding structure as the continuous improvement grants. So 2,000 maximum per team member for salary, course release, and travel. Additional project expenses are allowed. They have to be justified, just like we said before. And 10,000 maximum total per grant. And of course, more details are in the RFP. You'll want to keep a few things in mind for research grants that you may not have to for other grants. One is that you have to make sure that you know both the contact methods for your institutional review board, your IRB, and that you know your IRB guidelines and procedures. There are standard IRB policies throughout the USG, but they differ per institution on top of that. And how IRBs operate, when they meet, etc., that all has to do with what goes on at your institution. So be sure to understand your guidelines and your procedures. Work with your IRB on approving any research activities in these projects, hopefully before. If not, have a plan for how you're going to do it. The tough thing would be having a grant project move forward, receiving the funding, having a deadline, and then the IRB approval not going through past the point that you had planned on doing the research. That would be very difficult for you. It would wind up delaying things quite a bit. So be sure to keep IRBs in mind when you're doing any kind of research. If you're looking to publish this in a journal article, we do prefer that you publish in an open access publication, but because open access options differ depending on your field of study and even what your department would expect of you to publish in, including what you're doing in tenure and promotion processes, we don't require open access publications, but we do think that it's great to publish there. But do make sure that you are publishing in a way that works for your field. We have more over at ALG for using generative AI in OER. We have a whole guide on what to consider about copyright, what to consider about using OER within generative AI. We do not have a guide that tells you how to teach with it, but we do link to a few places that talk about pedagogy and generative AI, and also talk about creating real policies that involve generative AI. As well, we have plenty of data on how we've made an impact since 2014. Our impact page at affordablelearninggeorgia.org will give you plenty of data there. And if you have any questions beyond the data that you see there, let us know, and we can always dive in and help you out with that. Accessibility has always been important, and it's even more important right now. There is a deadline of April 26th, 2026, where all public resources, including the ones you're using for education, must be compliant with WCAG 2.1 AA standards. That's the mid-range standards. That's not the luxury standards. For example, having an ASL interpreter for all videos or something like that, but it does mean baseline accessibility. So for all videos, you would have to have closed captioning, or at least some sort of captioning, or a transcript. This is ADA Title II. This is a change to the rules where this is required. So for OER, and not for websites or software applications, you want to concentrate on a few things. Alt text wherever you have images. That's super important. Structuring your text. So if you have a Word document that functions as an open textbook, make sure that your chapters are a heading, and that if you have subchapters, they're subheadings, so that a screen reader can navigate quickly between all those and doesn't have to read 300 pages to get to the point. The layouts in PowerPoint also help with this. We know how to read things in PowerPoint using a machine reader only if you're using the layouts that say, this is the title, this is the text box. So that correct reading order is very important. Be careful with PDFs. Reading order is very difficult to deal with in PDFs. If you have a good reading order in Word and then you convert it to a PDF, you're going to have a better time with it. Make sure that your color contrast is readable. No dark blue text on slightly lighter blue backgrounds, that's for sure. But white on black is wonderful. So is a very bright white color on a dark color background. For more on this, we have an accessibility series that is focused on faculty creating OER. It doesn't get too technical, it doesn't get too legal, it's just how to make your stuff more accessible. If you want to go even further than that as an instructor, look at Universal Design for Learning. That is done by CAST. They have a set of guidelines. It's just entered its third revision at this point, and it's all about multiple methods of accessing information, multiple ways to include all learners. It's really good stuff. It's all centered around the idea that there is no average learner, and the more accessible that you make things, the more learners can be on board. And if you've seen the keynote already, you'll know that Josh Bullock has a good point. If we're going to keep open sustainable, then annual reviews, promotion, and tenure in regards to OER work really matter. Now, I can't, from my position, and I don't think the system office should, from our position, just tell everyone what tenure and promotion exactly is. But we can help by providing guidelines to include OER work. That way, our tenure committees can take a look at it and they can use it to guide the inclusion of OER work within their promotion and tenure and post tenure review processes. Tenure track faculty can take a look at it and find ways to include their OER work in their tenure portfolios and anything they need for post tenure reviews within broader categories like, for example, teaching or scholarship. Non-tenure track faculty and professional staff are not disincluded from this. They can use this to include OER work in their annual reports as well. If you're a faculty member or a staff member that manages folks and does these evaluations of annual reports, take a look at this to see how you can include OER work within what you are evaluating, particularly for folks where that OER work really matters. And talk with folks to see how OER is working within their own workflow too. So that is all I have to share today. Email me at jeff.galan@usg.edu. Email Nikita Afaha at nikita.afaha@usg.edu to get in contact with us if you have any questions. You can visit our site, affordablelearninggeorgia.org. And at the site, you can find your staff and your champions that can help you out right there on campus. Thank you so much for watching this video and have a great rest of the symposium.